to hire the consultants necessary to do the studies and all to go forth and do the things that y'all prioritize. So whatever we can do to kind of make these good decisions that y'all are talking through will help us out and everyone for this process.
Charles, would that be most helpful if we have that by the time we bring this to Commissioners Court for official approval for use of ARPA funds and have a defined scope for the Commissioners to vote on at that time?
We've done some preliminary work on some of these items, so we have RFQs that are pretty close to ready to go, but that's a very narrow because it's kind of it's a goodie basket and we don't know which ones y'all are going to select. So the quicker the better, most definitely, because these are not just from our time, but the consultants, the contractors, and so forth. It does take some.
Thank you, Charles.
So we have now, and I will make sure that we have a defined scope before we are ready for official approval and discussion, which we hope to be back here for the next meeting and get these projects underway. But we have now freed up roughly, probably then we'll add a little bit more to it in light of the preliminary cost estimates that have come in. But I'm not sure if that does include all of the bells and whistles. If the county will at some point say, this is great, but this is the budget that we want to use for the medical examiner's office and go from there. I'm not sure how much is negotiable when dealing with the medical examiner's office. I'm sure there are certain things you must have, and there's not a lot you can strike off the list. But we freed up some of the funding that is in this county and other portion to now move down the list to government services. And let's take a look at that now then, if that's okay with y'all. We'll move on. And these are in alphabetical order. And we can indeed move the IGN.
I would ask the court to consider on that IGN that we budget about $400,000 for that water line relocation. That's got to be done at some point in the time in the future, and we can't do anything until that is done. If we could go ahead and move that water line now, and I think if he said it's a half-mile water line, it's actually going to be much less than that, Melinda.
And you said 400,000.
I'm just asking for that consideration on that.
Okay.
I would agree.
Yeah, I'm fine with that.
Thank you.
So that's going to become our first priority under government services.
All right.
Okay.
Okay.
Is there anything else that the court feels needs to be moved either to public health? Sorry, I should have asked this before we started moving down the list. Public health or to government services. For instance, the elder care, Are You Okay?
It's
or
not,
the community
Yep.
center could be moved to public health.
Yeah. The RUK is not elder care. It's for anyone who's living alone without access to transportation or friends or family. And the software package that the 911 and Emergency Operations Center uses now is Code Red. And that contract is expiring the end of September. And I think we pay about $12,000 a year. That's split between 6 entities. And the software that would include the ability to make the call out for the Are You Okay would be approximately $50,000. That's split between 6 entities. So the entities would go from about $2,200 to $8,500 a year. So it's not a big expense for the county, and I'd like to see that happen.
So I believe this is 2 combined into one. We actually did have 2 separate requests. We had one from someone that specified elder care as the software, and then the Are You Okay program as another. Because they were similar and performed the same function, we did group them together and average the request. So
I think you can cut that to $50,000 and be okay.
Okay, and would y'all prefer that that get moved to public health?
Yes,
The priority under public health?
I think so.
yeah. I mean, it's mental health too, because you're checking on people that are alone and that are lonely.
Yes.
And just having another voice every day might keep them from doing something we don't want them to do.
Well, studies have shown that touching, reaching out does change things,
Yep.
some things.
And we want that to remain outside of the $2 million that we already
Yes,
discussed.
I
Okay,
would.
Just wanna make sure that
I
I'm
would.
getting all of it?
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, you got it.
Melinda, I'm also asking that we consider this request by Wixon Creek SUD. The difference between a third world country and what we have here is potable water. And evidently they are having a tremendous problem during emergency situations with the lack of emergency power. And I'm asking that we consider moving that up actually to public health, because I think if you don't have potable water, you can't live.
That's
Yeah.
right.
Absolutely.
More diseases, more medical needs.
I'm okay with moving the Wixon Valley,
Then we will move
Wixon Valley SUD up.
the Wixon Creek SUD.
Yes.
Mhm.
Okay.
Can't put my mouse now.
Where does that put us in terms of total?
That's what I was looking at. I'm sorry, he's still working on moving stuff around.
Then what was the other one?
We should be at around 30 million.
Yeah.
At that point in the conversation, could we consider broadband now? I mean, we've got $5 million set aside under that category.
For the county and other.
Yeah.
We're at 30 million, I believe you said, so we got 5 million still to work with in that category.
Now, I think it's critical that we get broadband to the entire county,
Yes.
especially our underserved community, because if we go back online, I mean, they really suffered with the online teaching because
Right.
they had to go to
Libraries.
McDonald's to get internet
Yes.
or what have you. And so if
Yeah.
we can get internet service to all the households in the county, that would be,
That would be awesome.
it would be.
So. More or less what we're looking at then is, while they're continuing to work on the spreadsheet itself, go ahead and out of the column for the county and other public entities, we'll have the medical examiner's office, mental health services, the feasibility studies for the 4 or 5 buildings,
Mhm.
well, 4 buildings, sorry. The HVAC for the jail and juvenile detention buildings, possibly the
Yes.
health department. And then the elder care. Are you okay? I'm just gonna keep calling it that, sorry.
Okay.
Just because it's on the sheet that way.
That's
It will
okay.
move up. And Wixon Creek Sud generator, or the $500,000 will move up, as will the IGNN, and is this the
Water
correct
relocation.
description let's say Green Prairie Trail to Saddle Creek, is that going to be the priority location that water line is? I wanna make sure that we get that correct. And I can do it
He
right.
said it was about a half a mile, and I believe that's correct.
Okay. So is the,
He's not here.
that's what I was gonna say, we need to make sure that we have that nailed down, and we'll get with him to make sure that's correct. So those are going to be our priorities, and then more or less what's left from there, we'll move broadband up to account for these funds for now.
Mhm.
And again, this is still, we can still, Rob from another section in just a moment, add some funding if we need to as well. Or we can leave the balance and determine the best use for that later on.
I've got this
Yeah,
right
under
here,
the-
out on the side.
Broadband category that you have, it says cost to be determined, and I was just curious, we had suggested that you talk to BVCOG about the build out or building parts of their fiber optic network out to areas where private entities could be able to use that to be able to extend, 100 by 25. Where are we
Mark has had
with the
extensive
conversations with the COG on their CogNet, on BB CogNet?
As it pertains to broadband.
Yes.
Sorry about that. We have had discussions with the COG. The COG would be more than welcome to come give a presentation to Commissioners Court. They have shared with us the backbone that they currently have going through Brazos County. As far as the capacity of that backbone, they say currently that has the ability to meet any broadband needs within Brazos County, as far as the basic structure itself. As far as extending that structure out, you're looking in the ballpark, they said $65,000 to $70,000 per mile to get the middle mile installed. Once again, we would be more than happy if Commissioners Court wants to proceed with that, is to set up for them, give a presentation, show you where those lines are currently, and once again, the areas that are currently do not have the satisfactory broadband service, and give you an estimate of those distances.
Yeah, I'd be interested in that.
I would too.
Okay. Well, I think anything we can do to support the COG in Brazos County's
Yes.
ability to
Absolutely.
make their fiber optic network more more
Accessible.
utilized
Yes.
and help them. I have had concerns expressed. I'm interested. I was glad to hear you say that because I have had concerns expressed to me by people who are private operators that the COG's bandwidth and capacity is not such that doing the middle mile would really be something that they would want to do. So
Yeah.
I'd like to hear more on that too. And I think we're taking some remedies and working into that. But that's good to hear that they had said that. So hopefully we'll be able to meet someplace in the middle.
Sure.
Commissioner
Mark-
Aldridge,
Yes, ma'am.
that project of the COG was limited by their funds,
Right.
and they started trying to connect the schools. One of the reasons because of the COVID-19, but this project really started before.
That was a
So-
health. It was
so
a health.
I-
it was a
I-
health grant.
Yes.
It was a health grant, and
Yes.
they were way ahead of their time in doing this.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I would definitely recommend that we pursue this and talk more.
Well, Mark, if we still have $5 million that we can consider for broadband, based on the numbers that you gave me, that's about 76 miles that we could extend the middle mile service to get us what we needed. I was going to ask, we've got a private provider in this room. I'd just love to have his opinion if 76 miles of broadband would answer any of the questions, or if that's not enough. So
Sure.
I don't know.
Well, I'm not sure, this wasn't set up, I don't think, with the public input.
Okay.
With
Okay.
staff and.
Okay. Then I'll
It is
ask you that. Is
excuse me.
76 miles enough?
Not to meet the entire needs of the county, no, sir. That does bring up another thing I do want to make sure the county is aware of, that in discussions with the COG, I said, who are you going to make this service available to? And what's the limitation on the service that you would be providing to the ultimate providers? And their basic comment was, anybody that wants in would be glad to have them. And we would be more than happy to have multiple providers serving any geographic areas.
Okay.
The service that they do have now, once again, the basic backbone, does run the length of Brazos County as well as some loops within the county.
Exactly.
And it can be, and once again, this is based on the engineer there at the COG and their service. They say they have the capability of meeting any of the need within the county.
Well,
And
go ahead.
Commissioner, we are in a workshop, and it's my understanding that you can call on experts to speak to us. He's not selling us.
No.
He's
I
informing
was merely concerned, would 76 miles get us way down the road?
Exactly. I hear your question,
Yeah.
and I'm just addressing the objection I think I heard.
Okay.
But yes, we can call on experts for sure.
I think they're also,
Can we ask him to come up?
Gonna-
I mean, Bruce?
Will you
We
come
don't
up,
have-
sir?
General counsel's not here, but.
We're not asking for a sales
Yeah, don't
pitch.
sell us anything,
We
please.
just need the information, and we thank you for being with us today.
Sure. My name's Jim Bowes with Brazos Wi-Fi. We're over on Highway 30. So 76 miles won't get us all the way, but it will probably get the bulk of the rural population centers that are historically underserved. There's definitely going to be some people that might not get it right away, but it would build a lot of the backbone necessary that we could then further build off of. And I say we being broadband providers, not just myself. Any other questions?
What do you think it would take to complete this?
Oh, I think when I ran the numbers, I think it was about 125 miles.
That would
I
reach
think.
everyone.
That would reach everyone in Brazos County?
I believe so. And that wasn't 100% fiber to everyone. That was relying on some of Suddenlink's backbone and other providers that are already playing in this space. That would just be extending outward from the cities to
Yes.
cover the whole county.
Okay, well, thank you very much.
Thank
Yes,
you.
ma'am. Thank you.
well, I think that's really worth pursuing because I think there's going to
Yes.
become, there are other monies through grants. I think this is not just a realization that we have. I think it's a epiphany to the state with their broadband council and what they're putting together. And I do know that from just preliminary looking that in the Infrastructure and Jobs Act that there are grant funds available for broadband and things. So I think we can combine that with some other efforts to find funding.
And Mark, I also had done some checking, and that 65,000 could possibly be high. Now, with costs continuing to go up, I'm sure they put a little buffer in there. But I think that number today would probably be more around 50 to 55,000 per mile.
Okay.
So that's more miles.
And you'll notice too that when we enter into asking people about quotes, the number they give
Hey,
first
Bub.
is
Yeah.
always a little bit higher.
Yes.
And then when you get the RFP out the door and solicitations and they are competing against someone, then sometimes we see those numbers go down so
Right.
much.
That's true.
Right.
I just had that happen on a bid opening yesterday, so. Okay, so the
Not
balance.
something we can rely on, but we can hope for.
Yeah, we can hope for that.
Okay.
Melinda, if I might interrupt just a second. What we're showing up there right now, and basically the projects that you're looking at there now, is there any projects that are listed there that anybody would strongly feel about taking off the board? Or do you want to leave all of that on there for right now?
Okay, can you scroll up? Is there?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. We don't have all of them.
Melinda, I have a question about line number 34 there, being the road and bridge liaison, I'm pretty certain that that section, Morgan to 2038, is not even under our priority list for the county right now, and I think that could be a wish list project right there.
It might be private.
Yeah.
So we could eliminate that.
Yeah. We might want to go back and scrub all of those that are road and bridge with what's on that 5-year plan that road and bridge has, if we haven't looked at it. I know
Yeah.
earlier this year, we got an update on what their 5-year outlook was. It was like $250 million, but, you know, if we can knock off a little piece of that.
Yeah, I believe their funding alone that we received was in the neighborhood of 54 million. Of just the few projects they've provided that, let me start with saying, when we had initially told them that it was the stormwater, we had to have that clean water component because that was the way the interim rule was written, and then came back to them, we got these much larger projects that had a broader scope beyond just that stormwater drainage. And that's when we received the request for more or less the entire project rather than the pieces that could have been funded. So I know the unfortunate thing is, even though this is a blessing, this is money that y'all did not have before, this is, you know, something y'all are getting to use to take care of you know, items that are difficult to fund other places. There's just never enough money. You know, we especially following any kind of disaster, whether it's a storm, pandemic, anything, there's just not enough to go around.
And since all this money was created as debt on the federal balance sheet, we're all paying interest on it too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Alright, so,
Wesley, would you scroll back down to the bottom of the government services section? So that's it. Okay. All right.
Okay. Are we going to discuss the bottom now?
Yeah.
Yeah. Let's move
Because
to
I
the-
have a concern about the county/other public entities. It's noted that it's a negative economic impact. I think that the labeling is not correct because I see that to be a mental health, maybe issue is the word, but we need to provide for all the citizens of Brazos County. This is an opportunity for us to do this in one of the lowest income areas with the needs of a center. And the center is open to everybody. It's not just a precinct 4 center. It's not going to be meant to be, you know, for a specific group or organization. And I think given the tone of the times, this would be an awesome investment to the quality of life of Brazos County.
and I agree with that 100%. And let me explain that again. We use the strictest interpretation of how these fit into the expenditure categories as listed in the reporting guidance. So the moment that you serve what is considered an underserved community or a disproportionately affected population, if it is to be located in your qualified census tract, then that does qualify it under this provision here as a priority automatically. If you are simply addressing the need of one, they actually do lump it under negative economic impacts. Now again, I mean, that's not necessarily something I agree with, but that is the category that falls under for the guidance. I 100% agree though that if y'all wish to move that to public health, I think that we can adequately document that it serves a public health perspective and, you know, can fit into that category. For our purposes, for how we listed it, we did go with the strictest interpretation though.
All right.
Okay. Going to the nonprofits, unlimited potential. They're asking for money to help rehab an old nursing home to house people who have aged out of foster care from 18 to 25. They become 18,
Yes,
they're homeless.
yes,
They don't have transportation.
that's true.
They need to get a job. Their education is paid for, tuition, but not books. This is a living facility that they would be able to move into, and they're asking for money to rehab the building, and I certainly would hope that we would fund at least some of it.
I certainly agree. The need is great. I serve on the welfare or the Child Protective Service Board, and that is one of the major concerns. Even though they tried to fund some services, again, there's never enough money. But if Brazos County could partner with them in some way, I think it, again, adds to the quality of life in Brazos County.
Well, and if we
And it addresses that need.
and if we house them, that lessens the burden on the county and other services that we're having to provide in terms of indigent health and keeping them out of jail and
All of that.
all of the above.
And there has been some discussion with Meals on Wheels when they remodel to try to work with Meals on Wheels to actually use that kitchen that would be remodeled, and that might serve two different areas, the Meals on Wheels and the
Yeah.
folks
You
that
know,
have turned out on
Judge,
8x18.
I'm
So-
glad that you brought that up because Meals on Wheels, in my view, is one of the most essential services provided in our county and every county thereof. So I would be in agreement. Are we ready to discuss Meals on Wheels?
Well, I mean, I think
Yeah.
there is discussion going on with them that if they can remodel, that Meals on Wheels would use the kitchen after it was remodeled. So,
Right.
I mean,
My question is, are we ready here to discuss Meals on Wheels? Is that the proper place?
What?
Is this
Yeah.
my point, I think, is that if we fund $2 million,
Mm-hmm.
and I think that's what the request was, I think that would then include Meals on Wheels rather than having Meals on Wheels as a separate item.
Yes.
It would, that's
Oh,
what
you
I'm
think
hearing.
the 2
Yes.
million?
I think the 2 million
That's
would
good to
remodel
know.
that facility. That's what they're telling me.
Yeah.
I mean, the 2 million won't do it, but they're raising
Have you
funds
seen that
privately.
facility?
I-
Have you really seen that facility?
There was some that went out and looked at it. It's, yes.
It is in desperate need, and the kitchen, oh my.
Yeah, it'd have to be a,
So
But,
Commissioner Colley, would you consider the $500,000 they've asked for Meals on Wheels, but going down to $1 million on the unlimited potential? Since they're gonna be
if
working
Meals
together?
Meals on Wheels is our project, if we're gonna give it priority, I don't know.
Well, I think if we do the 2 million, it includes the 500,000.
yeah, that's
Okay.
what I was thinking.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Hey, we can work together on this. Oh, I do have a question. We kind of skipped over, and I did not hear. Are we going to prioritize that, the community center? Will it be on the list as a possible funding of services? I didn't hear
Y'all
that.
tell me you're correct. We kind of moved on and without a decision made on that, so.
No.
So tell me the community center, tell me what we were talking about earlier. Is that what
Yes,
we're-
yes, and they're going to give the land over to Brazos County. It'll be Brazos County's property.
Is that what they came in and talked to us about a little
Yes,
while back?
yes. And we're just trying to identify this project. We have an entity that has some property that that we use now for voting. this entity is saying, we need a center here, and we will, do everything we can, donate the land. But they don't have funds to build.
Is this Galilee Baptist Church?
So
No, this is Tabernacle.
I think that is listed separately here as the Central District Missionary Baptist Association.
It is.
Yes.
And that's fine to list it that way, but I was explaining or trying to explain the center. This would be a center open to all of Brazos County, and the services are just innumerable because depending on how well it's built or how large, citizens would be able to use it for almost anything. Meetings, youth,
If I may
gathering.
interject,
Yes.
one concern that we have with that, and it may or may not be a concern, again, this is information that we have in front of us and what was provided. There are prohibitions against providing services in conjunction with
Building?
Well, it's,
With,
but if you attach a requirement that someone must attend any kind of religious service
Oh,
or
no.
anything to it, so we
No.
want to make sure that we're guarding against that.
no, that is not the intent. Again, the services, whatever we do with the center, it's open to all the citizens and there is no restriction.
No
It just-
religious requirement, no
It-
religious
It just
affiliation.
happens that a religious entity is offering to help us with that. They're not saying you got to go and be baptized, but I recommend it.
Not for all of us.
So do
Have
we
we,
include
have we
it?
spent our 44? Wesley, have we spent our 44?
Tell you what,
We're getting close.
Okay, but again, help me understand, because I don't want to leave here thinking we've done something. Will we put this on the project?
So, just to make sure that I'm clear and have a good understanding,
Mm-hmm.
we would, the community or rec center, or community center,
Mm-hmm.
that we have currently under the negative economic impacts with a budget of $2 million,
Yes.
that would expand upon further the Central District Missionary Baptist Association $271,000 request for the remodel and the increase of services at that building, or are we just in need of the 271 that was requested? I don't know
Are
if
we
I'm-
Right.
building a new building or are we remodeling?
Yes. There you go. That was a
Yeah,
good
we,
way to say it. Sorry.
we would
Well, that-
definitely have to build a new building. It's not possible to reconstruct this old facility. They've had too many problems with it.
Okay, so the 271 is not needed if you have the 2 million.
Right, are you
Okay.
gonna put 2 million to that project? Is that what I'm hearing?
Well, that's what we're asking you. Would you like to put $2 million to that project and move it up to a priority?
Yeah. I would, and then eliminate the Central District Missionary Baptist Association 271.
But make sure that there is a Brazos Center, community center in our plans.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
And
This
is that
is-
going to be an item then that we have a preliminary budget and then back into more or less what that $2 million will provide?
I think so.
Okay.
I would be agreeable.
So we wanted to do a feasibility study on how much
No.
square footage, or we're just gonna build a building?
No, the ones that proposed it have gone out and gotten
bids and stuff?
Not bids so much as designs and measurements and, you know, they've done their homework or attempted to. We may want to do differently, but we can decide on that.
And I'll tell you, I have community centers being bid across the state right now, and it is, you know, depending entirely on what you would like for that building to be, and we do back into those frequently. You know, it is anywhere from remodeling an existing building for say $750,000 to add some historical features, all the way up to $4 or $5 million. It truly is.
Well, dependent upon size.
It does depend on what size. It depends on, you know,
May I
The
say?
amendment.
what type of kitchen you would like to have.
Yes.
In it. Yeah, there's all
If
kinds
a
of things.
kitchen, may I say, this is a historic site, but the building itself is not something that I would want us to remodel. It wouldn't be the investment.
Would it be a demolish?
Yeah, they would probably demolish it.
We can't do
And
demolition.
You're gonna be able to demolish it in all likelihood.
No.
I can't swear to it right now.
Okay.
But I'm just gonna say, using federal funds to do something on the project is probably gonna prohibit you from being able to demo.
May I suggest that the entity might be willing, I mean, they're gonna give the land, so I would think they would demolish it. I mean, a few of us could meet and just pack off the wood. You know, we could do that.
And there's also a possibility of, and this is a discussion
No
for down
demolish.
the road, but there are ways to remedy adverse effects to historic features. For instance, inside the community center, have some references and some pictures. And the photo boards and really nice placards on this property previously started dysfunction. There's all kinds of things that we can do down the road to make sure that we're preserving the historical characteristics of the area. And
Great, that's fine,
Okay.
and thank
So-
you.
We're gonna move the community center up then, is that?
Yeah, I'm a little confused here because we've got remodeled construction multipurpose center pool recreation area at Sadie Thomas Park as one entity, and the other entity,
That was not
They're
the last, sir. The Sadie Thomas Park was never something I proposed. I may have brought it up in discussion because I'm disgusted
gotcha.
with Sadie Thomas, and there needs to be a center, I think I said this, in that community that will address more than, you know, putting your feet in water. You can't teach swimming. I mean, there's so many negative things I won't go into. But it also is owned by the city of Bryan
Yeah.
Correct, yeah.
and not Brazos County. And the project I'm discussing and trying to convince you of will be our Brazos County project. You can name it that, I don't.
Yeah, so it won't be at Sadie Thomas Park.
No,
It
no.
was, it was
Okay.
confusion on my part.
Okay.
In our notes,
That's why I was
the two
confused too.
kind of combined, so
Okay.
I apologize for that. And Commissioner had brought that
Just-
to my attention, and you really can't see it on here, but we tried to mark that out on the presentation portion when we first got here. But I
Gotcha.
did forget when we started this conversation to point out
Okay.
that has been identified as an error that on how it was listed.
So
think I'm
that
up to
2
speed.
million there would be the center. Is
Yeah.
that what you're saying?
Correct.
Yeah.
Okay. Do you understand?
Yeah.
It's not either or,
Right,
it is the center.
right,
Okay, and nothing for Sadie Thomas.
okay.
That's,
That's the
that's-
part that I was confused about.
right,
Because, I
and
mean,
it
it's the
is
city of Bryan, and they
confusing.
just closed that swimming pool and,
Yeah.
you know,
but
have renovations planned for when they redo the road, so.
listen, I'm not on the city council, but seriously, I think we could do better. And I'm not gonna wait for them to try to do better because it doesn't happen. You know, I participated in the study they called before they even built Sadie Thomas or rebuilt the pool. They took a full-size pool and gave to the community a swimming hole. It's not large enough to teach swimming, and since those kids haven't had swimming or the ability to, and I'm going to be quiet, but it just burns me to no end that, you know, there are entities, there are agencies or elected officials that'll just throw anything rather than trying to make it what it could be. And I'm through with that.
Okay, so, do we move that up and see about where we are?
And do we want to pull that in right underneath here?
Yes.
And you can list it as the central district if you want to. Project. That's the entity that's asking.
Yeah.
So it looks like we're going to be, I'm not sure that we've got all that on there. I will make sure we come back with exact numbers. This is not really functioning how we intended it to, and another difficult to see to get that taken care of.
But thank you.
And you're going to put the UP money in there too?
I'm sorry?
Money for UP, unlimited potential?
Yes. So currently y'all have budgeted for the nonprofit organizations, about $3 million is what we discussed last week. And that is just about what those requests total. So we would be removing the Central District Baptist Association and moving it into the community or rec center.
Can someone tell me what Friends for Life is?
Certainly.
And thank you for asking that question, because I was wondering. They want 16,200.
So it is a nonprofit that provides guardianship and representative payee services to citizens of Brazos County. It addresses the increased isolation of homebound seniors and adults with disabilities. And this is very similar to the Are You OK program, but it does have a component to it that they contact the Lifelines program that has a master of social work, a team of social work interns that find resources for or connect the residents with those resources.
Yeah, well, they're only asking for 16 too, so I don't have
Right,
a problem with them. And if they're talking about disabled and elderly, we certainly want to include them.
And I would agree. Whenever we can address those without, I think we should.
Means, absolutely.
So, on the nonprofit organizations, are there any of those that, I mean, the easiest way to look at this now is probably, are there any of these that come off the list that y'all don't want to consider right now a priority or take a better look at or get more information, or would those stay in this umbrella of the $3 million?
I think they should stay.
Yeah.
Leave
Now, the food bank,
What did I
they
miss?
do a terrific job of fundraising and getting grants. So is this for a specific program that they have, the $248 million, or is this for their general operating and purchasing of food?
The material said that they wanted to remodel their kitchen and probably build some other areas,
Warehouse.
service areas, so it's not going to the food. And you're absolutely right, donations has carried this organization a long way, but not enough to improve the facilities. And again, I invite you to go to the facility and see what they're dealing with. And they've done this all through their service line.
We have
So
a
you
funding
asked about food
request
bank?
both
Yeah.
from Meals on Wheels and the Brazos Valley Food Bank.
Oh, wait,
yeah.
what were we talking about?
Yeah, this was a request, I guess, by the food bank.
That's the food
not-
bank.
Not the
I apologize. I'm speaking of the,
Meals on Wheels.
Right,
Yeah.
yes, ma'am.
I apologize.
The food bank is actually requesting more or less operational expenses,
Okay.
beginning October 1st of 2022 and lasting for a year. That does include food, personnel, program support, such as fuel, van insurance, maintenance on the van, and cell phone costs for the box delivery text notifications.
Do we normally fund their operations?
We do to some degree, but it's
Because-
really not,
It's not a general practice.
No,
And
I mean, we give them money every year,
yes, we do.
yeah, but,
yeah,
yeah, so I
I'm
would
not
eliminate,
inclined
I
to
would,
go
I would
to
eliminate
finance.
this. I mean, the request.
Yeah, and I would agree.
Yeah. I know it's a small amount for Friends for Life, but they give a description of their services, and I'll look on their web, on their URL for friendsforlife.org. But they talk about the decline in their revenue. I'd kind of like to know a little bit more about where their revenue came from and how the funding works for them
Yeah,
as well.
Okay, that's reasonable. Could we ask that we get more information, Commissioner?
yeah, I'm good with more information.
Commissioners,
Yes, ma'am.
Aldred,
Yes, ma'am.
may we ask for more information?
Yeah.
I would think we need it, for sure.
Judge and Commissioner Court, for most of our outside agencies, we do require them to submit their financials and their audit to us. And
Right.
this might be another guideline to put
Well-
along with Friends for Life and
If you could
UP.
provide that information to us, that would be good. That's last year. But we're actually wanting to know more about the organization. Now, I
Agreed.
think that's where we're coming from.
Yes, ma'am. And this would, since it would be a new organization, we would require that anyways, just to make sure
Right.
their funding is going to where they're saying it's going to.
Thank you. And I'm
Yes, ma'am.
glad you mentioned that this would be a new organization because I couldn't place this name.
Yeah,
But we need to know a lot more about them.
Agree.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so under the nonprofit organizations then, we're going to remove the Brazos Valley Food Bank and Central District Missionary Baptist Church. The others,
Not the project.
no, that's going in the community
yeah,
center up
it's
above.
going
Brazos
into the-
When you
Community.
call that name, I'm afraid that it's confusing. It's not the project of Central District you're gonna eliminate.
It-
You moved it.
It
Moved
moved
it.
up to the, sorry,
Okay.
To the county other public
Right.
entities, we've
I
moved it
just
up to the
wanted
rec center.
understood.
Yeah,
so.
we're just moving it from that category up.
Mhm. I just wanted
That's
understood.
about $500,000 that we have freed up currently. Would y'all like to go ahead and move that for today, leave it where it is for today? We can address it later and keep our $3 million here for now, or do y'all want to go ahead and reduce that and move that money up to the, say, the public health and other priorities?
That's fine.
Well, we haven't addressed Scotty's house.
Oh, no, I
I
think
think
we
it
were
was left in there,
accepting
wasn't
it.
it? You weren't removing Scotty's
No,
house.
no,
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 just
Scotty's
keeping it.
house
Yeah.
stays
Yeah.
there.
Keeping, yeah.
Well,
And
Yeah.
this doesn't necessarily mean that y'all are approving it for
Right.
funding yet, that's gonna come at a later time.
Right.
but it's basically not.
Still on the list.
Yeah, it would still be on the list. Thank you.
Yeah.
We need all
So,
the services.
Are we just gonna leave budgets as a whole as they are today, and we'll see where everything falls once we get this spreadsheet reorganized and come back with those numbers?
Yes, and thank you.
I think so.
You did a great job.
And Melinda, you didn't mention it, but just for clarification, we are moving the Meals on Wheels in with the unlimited potential, is that
Yes.
correct?
Okay,
Under
that's
the 2 million.
fine.
Okay. And if we find out that that's not really something that's gonna work out, we haven't adjusted the budget, it is still there, but for now, it's the way the direction we're headed.
Okay.
Okay, and then next, under the third priority that was identified, private businesses and negative economic impacts were the priorities identified. The only request that we have that, again, under the strictest interpretation, fell under the Fawn Meadows, or under this category is the Fawn Meadows HOA request, and that is $77,000.
And where is Fawn Meadows precinct?
Off of Dillashaw Tap,
Oh.
it's in precinct 2.
Yeah,
And why would we fund this?
they want their road paved?
Why,
No,
why would we fund this?
If-
Can you tell me?
If you read up on their,
I'm looking for
on
it.
their request,
Uh-huh.
they're saying that negative impacts, that they had actually had money set aside to maintain this road, but because of the negative economic impacts, that prices have gone up in this amount. So all they're asking, they're not asking that we do the work for them. They're asking that we allow them to pay that increased cost for asphalt and gravel and all of those items that they need.
But aren't we gonna do the work, Wooden Road and Bridge?
No,
now?
ma'am, that's
No?
what I was gonna tell you.
Oh,
This
it's
is
a
the
privately-
only, yeah,
it's
this
a
is the
private-
only avenue that I know of that Commissioners
To
Court
help
has ever had to help people out in the county, because this is not under our system. It's not maintained.
The
So
under our
that's not
reason
a
being
county
is
system.
we
private
don't,
road. So
we
it's a private
don't
road.
normally,
Well, there are a lot
We-
of those out in the county.
we do not
But they
normally
requested,
fund.
you know what I'm
Well,
saying? The others
I
didn't.
understand. but-
Excuse me, Commissioners and Judge, we do not normally fund private roads.
That's correct.
That's why
But we have
The
the
question-
opportunity under this program, and
I
these
do
people have requested
understand,
it.
and I'm not disagreeing, I
Yeah.
just wanted to clarify.
We don't.
Yeah.
You're right.
My only concern is that there's a lot of private roads that are unpaved, and if you do one,
Yeah.
why aren't you doing them all? And it opens up a can of worms I don't think we want to open up.
Well,
Commissioner, this is a one-time opportunity. There's no way I could agree with you more, that we cannot go out with county funds and help people out in the county. But only 2 subdivisions, if you will, have requested our help on this thing, and I think both of them at least deserve our consideration.
Oh,
And we
that's-
can do it with this
Yeah.
money.
Yeah,
Yeah.
consideration, but it would be a low priority for me.
okay, but we could put it on the list.
Yeah,
I would think we could put it on the list
yeah.
as a one-time only. Good, you're
Commissioners,
absolutely
Judge Ed
right.
Bull. And Commissioner Ford brings up a good point. We can do that with this money. Once we go through these projects, we're gonna have to further vet these though, because just because we can use it with the money legally or any other potential issues or other ramifications that it could cause, the court needs to consider. So we're gonna have to take a look at those and present those to the court.
Yep.
But that's what we're
Thank you.
paying Trailer to do also, correct? I mean, we expect them to come to us and tell us, can we do this or not?
So trailer, and we've talked about this actually a couple of times in the past few weeks, their position, or what we've asked them to do is, what can the money be used for?
Right.
But there may be other further county ramifications that we need to take a look at, auditor's office, purchasing, legal, and so forth, that the court needs to be advised of.
So, since we have those entities, Brazos County entities here, I would suggest they get busy and check, what we're saying out. And legal might want to take on that project and report back to us. Because certainly we don't want to go to jail. I'm retiring. I don't want to go to prison.
I don't think any of us do.
I would certainly recommend checking with your legal counsel.
Certainly, certainly. And thank you for bringing that up, Ed.
So, given that
we-
We're done.
have $2 million set aside, and we do not have $2 million in requests, do we leave this open for other, applications down the line, or would you like to go ahead and move this over to the budget category that seems to have the largest shortfall at the moment?
Let's close further requests for this money.
Yes.
Yeah.
And,
question
and
about that.
I think we're going to move it to the
Public health
public health.
or government services.
Okay, so the request that we have for now will stay pending legal review.
Mhm.
Okay.
And it's not going to go away, but I am going to then,
Move the remainder of the funds.
yep, and we're going to basically wrap this up a
30.
little bit. And again, we will know more information next time we're here and what the balance will be, for instance, for broadband
Right.
with having done that.
And thank you. That's
Thank you very
perfect.
much.
You all have done a great job. You did what we asked you to do, and I feel very informed.
And we do have one more category to discuss real quick though. I'm sorry.
All right.
We'll make this one fast.
All right.
Which one?
So we did have one last category, and that is our individual and household assistance with public health, negative economic impacts, and then infrastructure, water, sewer, stormwater prioritized in those categories.
Yes.
We had set aside $3 million, and we don't have a specific request for any kind of housing assistance.
I was going to say, can we put that 3 million in with the 37 and make it 40?
I agree.
I would like us to hold that category open because the need is still there. There are senior citizens all over throughout our Brazos County that cannot afford the repairs to their houses. Yeah, and we're talking about people that have been with Brazos County most of their lives.
Yeah, whether it's a
Then-
ramp for a wheelchair or
Right.
what have you.
And when they go to the service providers, often they're told there's no funding.
So is that a possibility of standing up and supporting existing programs, for instance, at the college, or along those lines, or is this a program that y'all are wanting to set up on your own here possibly? Is that something that needs further discussion and keep this money reserved?
Just
until
keep the
next
money
meeting?
Yeah,
reserved.
let's do that,
Okay.
and we'll decide later.
Okay, and then we had one other request under that category, and it is the Greenleaf Lane culvert replacement.
Oh,
And it is a different category. For one thing, it is a subdivision versus any kind of HOA or anything beyond that. And then also it is a culvert replacement, which does make it a drainage project. Again, it does face the same issue. I would recommend
Legal.
discussing with legal and other avenues before making a decision on that.
Thank you, I agree.
Leave it alone.
And Ed, that's another,
Yeah, we need your
That's
attention
another-
on that.
we'll look at you for.
All right.
Okay.
Do we want to continue, or are we good?
Or
I mean,
do we have some more?
Well, the only thing that we have is just what kind of.
I thought we ran out of money, but.
You ran out of money, but just a couple of items that we want to point out, because again, I told y'all last week, I made a promise, I'm gonna make sure y'all see everything that was laid out there. Y'all are gonna know everything, we're gonna have everything very visible. I don't wanna have,
I thought you had done that. I
well,
mean,
we have a couple more, and we did have a couple of requests from Brazos Wi-Fi for some specific lines to be laid. Now, that fell under the privately owned business infrastructure broadband category that was not identified as a priority during this discussion last week.
So
Well, didn't we just put 5 million towards
the
broadband?
Right.
wouldn't that go?
And this would
Improve
include
that?
that?
Well,
Not to that
possibly not. This is more of a last mile project,
Okay,
possibly,
But
since it
it-
does have a definitive kind of beginning and end point with,
because it's private owned, right?
yes.
And we are saying we're not gonna pick winners and losers.
So let's just keep this one open.
Yeah, let's do that.
And then we also had, the body scanners from the sheriff's department that were funded through another entity, but that request is in your packet. Because we did receive it, we just wanna make sure y'all know we considered it. We also know that it was funded through another entity.
Great.
We have the antibody infusion center
Yes.
that also the state, I believe, picked up everything and kind of shot everybody down on that anyway and started running things on their own. And then as Mark stated earlier, the St. Joseph Health System request, as it was stated in the packet and the information we have, would not be eligible. Now, again, that's not to say that there wouldn't be some way to support their services if that was a discussion that we decided to pursue or the court decided to pursue.
And we do, through our indigent funding.
Yeah,
We do, so I'm comfortable not putting that on the list,
Me too.
although I know they need the money.
I agree with you, Commissioner. I
Yeah.
think that we don't have the $12 million to spend on that anyway.
yeah,
Alrighty, then now I'm done.
okay.
Thank y'all. We
All right.
appreciate it.
Thank you.
Next item is to adjourn, you have something more?
Judge, one more thing real quick, and I know we're getting into y'all's lunchtime. I think y'all see now the quantity and the size of these requests that are placed before you. You have a really good idea of the dollar amount that's been placed before you. My question is, what about any future requests? Y'all want to say the plate's full? We're not going to take any additional
Well-
funding requests?
Well,
I
if
think
there are
we-
future requests, why don't we just consider them as they appear? If they're within our time limit, our
Well,
budget,
I think we've run out of money
Yeah.
with what we've already, I mean, I know, we certainly haven't said, okay, we're gonna do all of these,
Right.
but
we've run.
I don't think we've got extra
So-
money for any new requests.
So that's where we stand?
And all of the projects that we've talked about, I believe, prioritized appropriately,
Yes.
will be appropriate uses of this. I don't know of anything else that would come up that might take a higher priority from my
Okay.
perspective. I think we're done.
I do
I think we're out
agree.
of money.
I think we're
All
done.
right, so everybody's good with saying
Yeah,
we're
it's
there?
gonna be a
Yes.
matter of the-
Thank y'all
Yes,
very
that's what
much.
It's gonna be a matter of
saying.
the grist
Thank you,
of
Judge.
figuring out what goes where.
Who gets what?
Not how much.
I'm convinced.
All right.
Thank you.
Now we adjourn.
Judge, you must have a lunch